All right, guys, welcome back to episode 11. We have a special guest in today. I've been looking forward to this episode, this podcast. So, I want everybody to welcome in Gill. Thank you for coming in. And I can't wait to, there's so much to talk about.
Agreed.
When it comes to culture, when it comes to, just like disability in general and the things that can be changed and just so much to go into. So, introduce yourself to the audience that might not be aware of, who you are. Let's give a quick intro.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here with some modern brown men.
Yeah.
I like saying that too.
Yes, sir.
Love that. My name's Gill. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, born and raised here. I have a spinal cord injury and I've had it for 11 and a half years. And since from that became an advocate. And then also started my own business. It's called ReYu Paralysis Recovery Centre.
Yep.
It's a nonprofit where we help people with neurologic conditions retrain their nervous system. And that came through like my journey of recovery after being paralyzed. And then along with all that came all the cultural stuff too. And so I'm also a keynote speaker. And I also have a TV show called Push. It's on CBC and CBC Gem. Through what was a big tragedy. A lot of good has come from it. It still really sucks. Don't get me wrong here. It still really sucks. But I'm glad that I have the opportunity and platform to change the stigma of people with disabilities, and especially in our culture, just to talk about it and remove some of that taboo and that awkwardness that I feel from a lot of operating people.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. For me personally, I get inspired by your story because thing is, for me, I have that ability to walk around and everything. I have that. But when I look at you, I'm you took and, it was a tragic thing that happened, but rather you harping on it over a period of time, but obviously it took a process. But the fact that you took this opportunity, be you know what, okay, I'm here, but how do I use this as a platform to help others? How do I grow from this? Not as individually, but collectively as a community, that people that are going through the same struggles. I know I've been there alone at nighttime or throughout the days where I had those dark days. I know what it feels like. Yeah. And for me, I have a profound respect for you that
Thank you.
I could never be in your shoes, be yeah, I can do it. I struggled on a day-to-day sometimes just to find motivation, No, it's true. On our daily, we a lot of the times, we take things for granted.
Yeah.
The basic things, our mobility, a way for me to hold him and Mike, for me to speak. All these things are basic things that can be taken just like that.
It definitely can.
And I have the gratitude towards where I'm capable of doing these things, and I want to do something with it, and I'm just empowered by everything you have done, opening your clinic and
Thanks,
your show, you have this community in Edmonton too now where it's your own little army.
That's right. Watch your toes. The wheelie peeps are moving out.
Hey, you guys really are, and it's empowering. It's so empowering. I saw you. I was just watching your podcast. I saw your I was last couple of days, that's all I've been on YouTube. And one of the things I saw, you won a passion contest.
Yeah.
And I'm no way.
I'm the current reigning Miss Wheelchair Canada.
Hey, let's go.
Forgot my crown at home.
Yeah, I was oh my days. I'm this person really just doing everything they want. They're not letting the disability define who they are or what they can accomplish in life. So, power to you.
Thanks, man. I just want to comment on something you said, that you said you wouldn't be able to do what I've done. And a lot of people say that to me, and I want to challenge that because I think you would.
Yeah.
Right? I had no idea that this was my future. I had no idea. When I was paralyzed, one of my first thoughts was, who the hell's going to date the girl in the wheelchair?
Yeah.
Who's going to date me now?
Nope.
I was freshly single, just left my ex-husband 3 months before, right? And now I'm paralyzed. And I had no idea what was going to be coming for my future, what it would look like if I had a future. Suicide came many, many times into my head, right? Because it's just you just think, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
Right? But we all have that will to live. And I think I had to really dig deep to find mine. And it was just that attitude of like, you know, gratitude.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? I was in a deep, dark depression. I fell really hard, really deep. And it wasn't until I met a girl who was a quadriplegic who said, I'd be happy if I could move a fucking finger. In that instant, I was in my head, I was like, Bean, you're not allowed to feel sorry for yourself anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I automatically went from being sad about what I lost to being grateful for what I have.
Yep.
And since that day, I've never taken anything for granted. And gratitude has become such a big part of my daily routine, part of my mental health process. And like, yeah, just what you said, like, I love it when people hear my story and see me and realize that they have it good.
Yeah.
And that they should really be living their lives, because so many of us are existing.
Yeah.
Too many people.
Yeah, no, it's just inspiring, period. Regardless of
thanks,
who
man.
you are, whether, you know, disabled or just stuck in life, just to see a story, you know, it makes you want to go out there and pursue whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because opportunities are endless. I try to, you know, I tell people, I'm like, don't put yourself in a bubble. Try it.
Yep.
No matter what it is, even if you fail at it, it's not a failure. You learn something through that process.
Yeah.
It might not be the end goal you're expecting, but guess what? That little process, you learn a couple things about yourself. Like, okay, damn, you know? So, yeah. But one thing that we do want to touch upon is the culture, like kind of perception.
Sure.
Around disability. Because when it comes to like, you know, disability comes different shapes and forms.
Of course.
You know, it could be someone, you know, with vision or mobility in general. And the stigma that we have in our community is so, we don't acknowledge it at all.
Yeah.
Like even what I mean by that is, let's take, I don't know, one of the things is easy accessibility, or what that even means. If you bring that up to any person in our culture that's older than us, the older generation, they'll be like, "Kato chahida."
Yeah.
That'd be the response.
Yeah.
Be like, he's a ek kadaiya. That's what their response is. And it is such a shallow response.
Yes.
And you're like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Well, how do you know that one person that sees that accessibility for that person, whatever it may be, is not going to put a smile on their face and want them to come back and bring other people along with them? They're like, hey, that place has this, let's go there.
Yeah.
So what are some like the struggles you've seen through your journey with like the mixture of the culture and how everything has kind of, you know, taken place?
Good question.
I know there's so much to
unravel.
unravel.
A lot, yeah. Yeah, so the first thing I want to address is like that notion of like it's only one or two people.
Exactly.
Right? But it's not. 1 in 5 Canadians has a disability.
Yeah.
And if we think of the Indian population alone, it's over 1 billion people.
Yeah.
A lot of those people have disabilities.
Yeah,
It's just we don't see them.
Yep.
Right? We don't see them at the Gurdwara. We don't see them at weddings. We don't see them at parties. We don't see them at family functions. So that's why we think it's only 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a lot more. We just don't see them, right? So like, and the reason we don't see people is because the stigma in our culture is that it's shameful.
It is.
You bring shame upon your family. Like, oh, you're not perfect. Right? You don't have this perfect family, so you must be hidden. And I have a few like operative friends who have disabilities who were born with it. They have cerebral palsy. And I'm like, okay, tell me like what this was like. Because I was 30 years old when I was paralyzed, right?
Yeah.
It's a big difference. And like, what was it like growing up? Did your parents take you places? Did they keep you at home? Like, what was it? And the people who are outgoing and whatever, they're like, no, my parents took us everywhere. They never let me feel like I had a disability.
Yeah.
And then the ones who, their parents never took them anywhere. They never told them they had worth, right? They constantly made them feel like a burden.
Yeah.
Whether it was said explicitly or not, that's what happens. But it's just like, I didn't want this. I did not ask for this, right? So now why all of a sudden you're going to look down at me because of this? I don't think so. And in the beginning of when I was first paralyzed, like I had no self-confidence. I couldn't even make eye contact with anybody, right? And like, so when people would stare at me, like it would destroy me. My mom would have to like yell at people. What, you never seen a girl in a wheelchair before? Right? Like, at Superstore, I remember it very clearly. It was an Apna man and his wife, and they were just staring at me, getting in the car. And it's just like, and the reason they're staring is because they're curious, right? Like, and I know like usually the first thought is like, well, what happened to her?
Yeah.
Right? And people aren't used to seeing, young people in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like go through that when you're in that fragile mental state, right? Now, I openly take the time. I'll go up to them and be like, "Sat Sri Akal, uncle. What's up?
What the hell you looking at me?"
Right? Like, just I can see it on your face. You're not hiding it very well. What do you want? Right? And now I just don't give a shit. Now I'm just gonna talk to them and tell them that, like, this is what happened to me. I had a virus that attacked my spinal cord, right? Within 10 minutes, I was paralyzed. Wow. And, like, you know, I guess I didn't say how I was paralyzed. I was in Vegas. And
it's a rare case, right?
Yeah. And I basically had, like, really excruciating pain in my low back. Lasted a couple of minutes, and then I couldn't move my right leg. And then a few minutes later, my left leg went prickly from my hip to my toes. And that's it. I was left paralyzed from the waist down.
And in Vegas, too.
In Vegas, yeah, on Friday the 13th.
What are the odds?
You can't make this shit up. Anyways. So, but talking to, like, opponent people, now is just, like, breaking down those barriers.
Sorry, I didn't know he was taking a photo. I thought he was saying something.
Oh, it's paparazzi.
Sorry. Apologies. I apologize.
No worries.
Yeah.
Okay, so so I just talked to them, right? Yeah. And so there was a period of time where I wasn't driving. I got a DUI after I was paralyzed.
Really?
Okay, yeah. And that was the last time I drank. It was December 3rd, 2016. And I crashed my car and got a DUI. Not my brightest time. Yeah. It was very... like, the disappointment from my family is what has kept me sober for 7 years. Yeah. Because I do not want to disappoint them like that ever again. Oh. Yeah. It was bad. And, like, you know, luckily nobody was injured. It could have been a lot worse than what it was. Yep. And so there was a period of 6 months where I wasn't driving. I couldn't drive. So I had to take an Uber because I had ReYu. I still had a business to run, right? Yeah. And so I was taking Uber from my house to and from work. And never in my Uber description do I say that I use a wheelchair, right? Because I don't think I should have to disclose. And I am fully independent. I can take my chair apart and I just tell them where to put it and how to put it in their car. And so I would, you know, open my doors. As they say, Uber's here. I'd go to open the door, and a lot of the times the look I would get is, deflated. I'm like, oh man, gotta help this chick with this wheelchair and shit. Right? And I had my bag, and I often had my walker with me, and, like, you know, a lot of my shit. Yeah. But then on that 30-minute car ride, right, sometimes I would initiate the conversation, sometimes the driver would, where they would just be like, so, like, what happened? Why do you use a wheelchair, right? And then I would just tell them the story and, like, what happened. And then they're like, so where am I taking you? I'm like, to my business. You work?
You own a business?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, like, you work? What? You own the business? Yeah. And that's another separate thing, right? Where I got a lot of just, like, surprise that somebody with a disability could be running a business, right? Yeah. And oftentimes by the end of the ride, the driver has said to me, "Thank you, Beta. Thank you for changing my opinion on people with disabilities." And, like, that's how I'm going to change the world, is one mind at a time. And for me, it's super tiring to have to educate all the damn time. But that's also my burden and my superpower, right? That's, I think, one of the reasons why I was paralyzed is, like, because I have this voice and, like, to make this change, which should have happened fucking decades ago. You know, but it's okay. It's never too late. It's never too late to change. It really is. So here we are.
Yeah. No, as you said, like, you know, people don't realize, like, how many people actually have disability. As you said, out of 1 out of 5 Canadians that do experience, you know, disability to a certain extent. So in our culture, it's just like a idea that doesn't exist almost. Yeah. But, like, people can't get disabled. And as you said, even if they do, be like, it's like something to be frowned upon. Be like, nahi sharm aaundi hai, tenu baah nahi leke ja sakde. This that log ki sochenge. And you have to slowly change that idea of, like, log ki nahi sochenge. It's like, ਆਪਾਂ ਲੋਕੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ encourage ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ to think outside of the box, to normalize this.
Yes,
it's normal.
Exactly.
You know, at the end of the day, no matter what it is, like I wear glasses that could be considered as a disability.
It is.
Right? Yeah. It is. Well, essentially it is. I can't, so at the end of the day, why don't we look down on them? Like, man, he has Anka on. Like, he look like an idiot.
Yeah.
No, it's true though.
No, for
right?
real.
But we pick and choose. It's like, that's not how it works. We should embrace whatever, no matter what everybody had, and put it forward. You know, one of the stories, I owned a Pizza 73 before, and one of the owners, her daughter, her name was Mina. She, same thing. She was paralyzed. I didn't get a fully like understanding of like what happened, or it was just like a brief. I just saw her, and then my heart went out to her, and I'm just like, man, like that's like what she's going through. I will never know what she's going through, and it just broke my heart to see like people do cast judgment in our culture.
Yeah.
They don't like wearing a suit and being on a wheelchair or like holding crutches or whatever it is. People like, no, like Jalous, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we trying to progress as a community or take it back to God knows when, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's just it's yeah, I get caught off guard by culture, how insensitive they are.
Yeah.
They're very insensitive when it comes to certain, like even for me, like I sometimes, like even when it comes to yourself, like I don't want to say anything that almost feels like, no shit, why did I say that? Like, does that feel like it made you feel bad? Do you like, how do you cope with that? Because like, you know, for me, it's like, I gotta say a certain thing, like I gotta pick a certain thing.
I can see it on your
that
face.
doesn't offend you, right? It's, right?
Yeah.
There's certain things I don't want to offend you, but like, oh, how do I say this? How do I phrase this?
Yeah.
Do you think we need to have these talk more, whether like, it's okay, you don't know, but we can have this conversation?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, that's why I always say, like, I'm not going to get offended. If you say the wrong thing, I'll just correct you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And if you have questions, like, I'm the person to ask.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm not going to berate you. I'm not going to make you feel bad. I want people to ask these questions.
Yeah.
I love that people want to be inclusive. Right? And so, like, instead of just being worried about saying the wrong thing or being offensive, right? You can just say, and this is what most people say to me is, I don't know if I'm just being offensive, but I'm just going to say this. And then they say it, right? And then it's just like, well, no, it's not offensive, right? And like, but like I said, I'll just fix it. Like some people will say, you know, wheelchair bound, right? But it's like, that's a really negative term. Wheelchair user is more appropriate. It's functional, and that's what I am. Because I don't have a seatbelt. There's nothing binding me to my wheelchair. But if I didn't have my wheelchair, I would be bedbound. Right?
Yep.
So like thinking about the words we use, we often also use like the medical model of disability, which is feel sorry for them. They need pity. Right? And like then there's that hierarchy.
Yeah.
But we don't want that. The last thing we want is your fucking pity.
And that's what people don't realize is like they do small things that it makes it like, oh, they need a handout. That's one of the things. It's like, oh no, like they try to baby them, but like, no. Just be forgoing, understanding what they're going through. Have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Go from there. Don't think like they're lesser of you. Be like, oh no, you gotta do a certain thing. And I have, grown to have conversation. Whether it's like, hey, I don't like, just don't come off as arrogant. Have a conversation. Be like, hey, I don't want to disrespect you, but this is like, how can I, better the way I say certain thing or how I approach a person a certain way. So I think that's the conversation we need to have more than rather just stare at them corner eyes wherever they go in the corners at the weddings. Be like, oh, they kuri Emmy. I'm like, who cares? Who cares?
Well, it's like that, it's that notion of we are both hyper visible and invisible at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? And I can see when people are staring at me and it's like, hi, my legs don't work, but my eyes do. I can see you. Right? Like, I don't know, you think you're being a sneaky ninja here, you're not, but like, so that's why I talk about disability etiquette. How do you talk to people with disabilities? How do you interact with them? Right? And like the simplest things is make eye contact. See them.
That's true.
Look at them. But just by you looking at them, you're giving them permission to take up space.
Yeah.
And the three basic things that every human wants is to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we can provide somebody just that to be seen by just making eye contact with them and then maybe cracking a smile, right? That's 3 seconds out of your day. To that person, they're like, oh, wow, they saw me.
Yeah, they acknowledge.
Right? Like, what? And like, that's step one. That's it. And you don't have to go talk to them. And I really want to make clear here that I'm not saying gawk and I'm not saying stare.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Yeah.
See them as a human, because that's what they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Difference, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the easiest way I think to like start that is just look at people.
That's true.
Yeah, but don't stop pretending like they're not there, because they are.
I agree.
And then, well, we kind of touched about how you talked about, you know, just trying to educate like people within our own culture, right? About disability, how to respect them, how to interact with them. So there's that one part, but what I'm curious to know is how did of course your family supported you regardless, but how did your family respond to it? And how did they educate other people when they were interacting with themselves, when you were not there?
Yeah, good question. So like something like a spinal cord injury affects not just you, it affects everybody in your circle, right? Like our house was completely flipped upside down.
Yep.
My bedroom used to be upstairs. Now my bed is in the family room. Our kitchen table is upstairs in my bedroom because we need space, right? And like luckily we had a full bathroom on the main floor. Like we just made it work. And I mean, my mom's a nurse, so like that was super helpful to have. Wow. And at that time, my brother and my younger sister were also living with us in the house. And you know, it affects everybody differently, right? So my mom she was working 2 jobs. She had to quit one of her jobs and go take a leave from the other so she could spend all day and all night with me. And like, it was to the point where like I couldn't turn over. So she had to roll me over every 2 hours while I was sleeping to avoid pressure sores. I couldn't transfer by myself. My brother had to transfer me into a wheelchair, into the shower and stuff, right? And so like it hits everybody hard. And my mom and my sister and my brother, all people kind of around me were like, they felt guilty walking around me. And my mom said like she felt guilty anytime she would walk up the stairs because she knew I couldn't do it. And like she had to work through that as well. And then with my siblings, like, you know, there was some jealousy there because now my mom's attention is solely on me. Right? And I mean, one of the biggest blessings of this whole paralysis journey has been seeing a therapist. I've seen a psychologist from day one of being paralyzed, and she not only saw me, she saw every member of my family individually, and then to all of us together, and she facilitated a really healthy conversation about everybody's feelings without making anybody feel bad, right? So like my siblings having jealousy and stuff, they're totally allowed to.
It's a normal
At
thing,
that time, I would have been hurt had I known that they were jealous. Right? Like I would have taken it a different way because I was in a very heightened mindset. I was not calm. And like I was it was a trauma response, the mental state that I was in, right? But like now we can talk about that, right? And so like I'm still seeing my therapist. It's been 11 years. I see her on Thursday actually, right? But like that's been the biggest blessing because like through that I learned how to communicate, learned how to love myself fully, deeply, with disability and all, and like have been able to help my family with that. And then in turn, the ripple effect of disability is my friends and family have such a bigger awareness now of other people with disabilities. Like my friend Tony, and so this is like our brown guy group of friends, right? Like they really stepped it up after I was paralyzed, and it shocked me a lot. But they're at my house every week. They took me out to restaurants. They were like, you know, treated me normal. And he told me one day, he's like, he was outside the bar and some guy in a wheelchair lost control and fell off the curb and was in the street. And he's like, I just hopped to it and knew what to do, got him back in his chair. And he's like, I would never have done that had I not known like you. Right? And so like that's the beautiful part of it is like people's eyes are now open, and so many people have become advocates for accessibility, right? Like my sister, I call her my secret service because like when we go to a restaurant or something, she'll first go into the bathroom and scope it out and check it out, and then she'll come back and be like, yeah, it's good for you to go.
Hey, shout out to your sister.
Right? And then, but if it's not, then she's the first one to go talk to a manager, right? Or like if there's somebody using the accessible stall, she'll be like, hey man, like you should be using a regular stall. Like people need this. And it's just created a lot of allies. And I hear people telling me all the time stories like this, and I love it. Because this is how we change the world. This is how we literally are changing people's minds, and one person is going to make a difference to so many others, right? Yeah, it's great.
No, even what you said about like the accessibility thing, it's like I think people don't understand. They might not, like, for example, if a sign that says handicap or whatever it is, there's a reason why that is.
Yeah.
Like even like I've been, you know, I'm no saint. I have, you know, I've done it myself where like you think I'll just park here for a couple minutes and I'll leave. But now then I look back at it like, damn, like what if a person drove there, the parking's full and they just drove by. And I think
don't let me catch you.
No, I'll
throw down.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
So how do you think we need to how should we better ourselves when it comes to that, like understanding of it's not that 2 minute, 1 minute, that 30 minutes. I wasn't gone for long. You hear that a lot. I wasn't gone for long.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
No.
The point is there's a reason why these things are made, for the purpose of to make it accessible for whoever it is that needs to use it.
Yeah.
And we need to become more have a respect, you know, for that space. And when we don't have that, it's like, what environment are we creating, right? So,
yeah, I think there needs to be more empathy,
yep.
right? Seeing life from somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
If there was more empathy, there would be less entitlement.
Yeah.
That I'm only going to be 30 seconds. I'm only picking somebody up. That's entitlement.
It is, yeah.
And what I say to those people, okay, we'll take my wheelchair too then.
Yeah, take it for 30 seconds
Go ahead.
and see how it is.
Right?
Yeah.
And like what my friends and I have come down to, because it's literally every day we catch people parked in our spots, is I'm going to park right behind you and I'm going to get out and go.
As you should. No, I agree. I feel like,
Go ahead.
I
You're
agree.
going to call the cops? Go ahead. You're going to
You're the
get
one to get a
ticket and
ticket.
you're paying for my tow. Because this has happened. I've talked to the police before.
Yeah.
I don't care, man. Like, you know, I just don't care anymore. This is what it's come down to. I have no patience anymore.
Yeah, I feel you.
Right? And like, you know, I went to the gym the other day and it's up in a strip mall, right? And there's two people parked, one in the accessible stall and one in the lined part,
Oh, the lined one, yeah.
both without tags.
Yeah.
And so I use the 311 app and I report people, right? And like, usually I'm not a snitch, but this I will snitch on.
Yeah.
And I reported them and it's a $500 ticket, right? But like, this is how you're gonna learn.
That's true though, it is.
Yeah.
$500, man.
Otherwise, you're just gonna keep on doing it.
And the thing is you can park really on the other side and you could just walk
Maybe like
2 extra
10
feet.
steps.
Yeah.
Right? And then what I say to those people, if I could walk, I'd be parking in the next parking lot and be running
Yeah.
over here.
But that's the thing, it's like, you know, people they don't have empathy or they don't understand.
No. And I think it's just conversations,
Yeah.
right? Showing people, hey, people need these spots. It's the curb cut is there for a reason. You know, if you don't need it, be grateful you don't need it.
Yeah.
Because one day you might.
Yeah,
and then you're going to
that's
curse
true.
that day.
Yeah.
That's true though.
Right?
How do we, like, one thing I want to discuss is how we talk about gurdwaras and stuff like that in our culture. How do we go about sparking conversation with whatever committees or whatever, improving accessibility for all, with any type of disability people may have? How do we go about that? Like having like parking spaces or, you know, certain thing implemented that can help you guys or anybody in general that's going through a disability?
I think the most effective way is to find people with disabilities and take them to the Gurdwara, to these
show them how
committees.
it's not accessible at all.
Yeah, set up meetings, bring people with disabilities, somebody blind, somebody deaf, somebody with a mobility disability, somebody with an invisible disability,
Yeah.
right? And bring them there and hopefully apne, because it would have a bigger effect, right?
Yeah.
And easier communication.
Yeah.
But like people need to see that there is a person behind this. It's not just a label. It's not just a sticker that you put on the door. There is a person behind this. And if you are a true Sikhi Granthi, then you should believe in equality.
Yep.
Yeah.
You should be practicing that, right? You should not be practicing hierarchy amongst caste or amongst
Crazy.
ability or color or whatever, right? Like if you're going to follow Sikhi for what it is.
Yep.
Not your own made up
That's
version of it.
true though. So, great.
Yeah, passionate about that.
No, as you should be, man. Because I'll be passionate about it too. Because as you said, we are Granthis, the Gurdwaras, or what the even Sikhi is just is going down a wrong rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's like our own community fights against each other. Like the Gurdwara's there's a new one on 66. It's literally in this little kunji, like in a tent.
It's
like
my house.
Yeah, I go there all the time, right?
Okay.
And it's been in like 4 or 5 years in the making, and literally like how you enter is, even for certain kids fall on those like pedaways that I've created because it's just temporary, right? But it's been going on for 4 or 5 years. But because why? Because they're fighting against each other over money. I guess. And the money part is even more crazy to me because it's a gurdwara. It's a place for do seva and to get and help people that are in need. But yet we're fighting over, you know, the wrong monetary things rather than focusing on stuff like, you know, having accessible places, having these talks, bringing someone in and be like, hey, come in. What do you think we need to change? When is the last time that conversation has been even brought up?
It's never happened. It's never happened.
When is that? Yeah. When is that a committee member be like, hey, being like, we saw your story. We want you to come in and help us figure out this. When does that ever happen?
Yeah.
Isn't that, and we're in 2023. We're not in 2000, like 1900. We're in 2020, 2024 actually. 2024. And we still haven't had these talks. That just shows how far behind we as a culture are when it comes to certain segment in life where other cultures and communities are so well acclimated, they understand it, and they're so far, you know, understanding, you know, empathetic. Yeah. They're knowledgeable. They care. They want to learn.
Yeah. It's the judgment. Our culture is very toxic and judgy. Yeah. Our religion is beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
The actual religion is beautiful, preaches equality amongst men and women and everything else, but the culture is what just brings all that toxicity in, right? And like, that's where things have got to stop. And it only stops. And I mean, like the serial dramas, right, from India, those are changing now. Thank God. They're changing Thank the Lord. Now.
They were so toxic.
So toxic. And like people were creating drama in their own families watching
because of that. They're like, see, when I get kicked out of the show.
Yes. It's because you got nothing else to do. So you're watching this for 8 hours a day and obviously going to create that drama in your life, right? None of us are immune from that.
I would think so. Look at Big Boss.
Yes.
Look how crazy. God. No, it's so viral, but it's so in the environment is so freaking toxic. I know cousins that just watch it for hours. I'm like, how? No. Why? What's the reason?
Like that the whole culture's got to change. And the only way it will is like by people wanting to change. If people don't want to change, they're not going to. Period.
I think though, if we do have any issues within our culture, it can't be changed by one person. Just because, like, if you go to Bubba, Bubba's not gonna give a shit, right? He's gonna brush it off. He's like, "Oh, ye kaun hai? Ye kuch nahi hai," right? But then when you have a peer pressure by multiple people, then you're like, okay, something needs to be done. Right. So, I mean, that's how just our culture is. It's just they're just never been educated about it, right? It's from back home. They were never educated about emotional, disability and all that sort, right? So, I mean, it is what it is, but thankfully, it's changing slowly. So.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like it's like our responsibility as people with disabilities to go out into the able-bodied world and show them like, hey, we're just regular people too, man. Yeah. Right? We're regular people. But like, and then even more so within the cultures. Because it's not just our culture that has these stigmas. It's a lot of Asian cultures, a lot of South American, a lot of Eastern Europe, right? That have these stigmas towards people with disabilities. But it's just breaking it down one person at a time. Yeah, there's no really... I wish there was a mass way to like affect the masses at once. Yeah, but there is... I mean, we're trying with Push, right? That's where we're trying with a bunch of different like platforms that we have, but it's hard. Yeah. It's a hard journey.
And then, kind of going back to your business, I'll get more into that. I know a bit of their story about it, but I just wanted to get more information about it, like the challenges that you faced, because I know like you were saying like in regards to the treatment, I think it was only in LA that from what I remember.
Yeah, I was in California.
San Diego, yeah. So how did you go about with bringing it here in Edmonton?
Sure. So it's activity-based therapy. Is the treatment that I found in California that I just fell in love with, because the recovery I saw in 3 weeks was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I was like, give me your Kool-Aid. I'm drinking it. Whatever you're buying, I'm selling, right? Yeah. Because it works. And so when I came back with franchise papers from them. Wow. Okay. But like at that time, I wasn't in the headspace for it. And bringing this kind of business over the border, I think would have been a giant nightmare. And so, when I found my business partner, Nancy, we just started working out together, and she's always wanted to do something like this. And so her and I just worked together. She was going to other people's houses. We saw like the need for a center here. And so then that's when we opened in 2017.
Yeah.
But the challenges have been real, man.
Yeah.
Right? Like, first of all, this is a different type of business. It's the first of its kind in Edmonton. There's no blueprint for this at all. The healthcare system did not want us to succeed.
Really?
Yeah, they did not
What?
want us to. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Why is that?
Because we're actually helping people do the things that they said they'll never do.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, they're telling people you're never going to walk again, you're never going to have sex again, you're never going to do this, you're never going to do that.
Yeah.
Where they come to ReYu and we help reorganize their nervous system and retrain it using activity-based therapies. And they are doing these things now.
Wow.
Right? So then, the medical system, their egos got hurt.
So did you see like a lot of struggles when it came to like having everything set up with the permits and all that stuff? How did that, was that process really hard?
That part was fairly easy. We
Yeah.
actually got a law firm to take us on pro bono. A lot of the stuff we did for free
really?
because I'm Indian and we don't pay for shit. Right?
We always find a way. We always
yeah.
find a way.
And I got a compelling story, so I'm going to pull at your heartstrings until you give me what I want. And as a nonprofit, right, we registered as a nonprofit. And, I just told everybody, this is what we're doing. We got a marketing agency, Zeg Creative. They took us on pro bono as well, gave us our name and our tagline. And then, we found a law firm to do our incorporation documents and stuff, and an accounting firm and all these kinds of things. That kind of stuff was easy.
Easy, yeah.
It was more the stigma of people, right? So like when we moved into the building that we're in now, we got our sign made from outside.
Yeah.
And so I found this guy online, been emailing with him back and forth about the sign, doing drawings and stuff like that, whatever. So then he comes to ReYu and he looks at me and he's like, huh.
You own this? What is going on?
And he was literally doing this, okay, up and down from my face to my wheelchair. And he was like short circuiting, right?
This is just
And I
making
was like,
sense.
yep, hi, I'm
That's
Bean.
me.
Yeah.
I'm the owner of this business. And he just like literally short circuited for a minute. And I'm like, yep, I'm a wheelchair user and I run this business.
Yeah.
And he was just like kind of taken aback and like
Yeah.
very shocked. Very shocked. And he apologized afterwards, right? But
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just that.
Yeah.
It's that. And it's like now I find it comical, right? But it's just like, well, this is what people really think.
Yeah.
How are you running this business? And people are often very surprised when they find out that I'm the boss,
But yeah,
right? Or like this Nancy and I, but like then when they see me, they're like, whoa, what?
can't be.
What? Yeah, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And because I think the underlying stigma with that is that if you have a physical disability, you have a mental disability. Right? People assume.
That's true. Yeah.
They assume that a lot. But even if you have a mental disability, you can still run a business. You can still have a
capable.
family. You can still go get educated. Right? It's the limiting beliefs that other people put on people that they say that they can't. And that's what I really want to remove. Because even with these doctors and stuff, like, my question to one of my doctors was, oh, so tell me how long you've had your spinal cord injury for?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have one.
one,
Then how
yeah.
do you know?
Yeah.
Because you read textbooks? Because you read studies?
Yeah.
Did those people study me? Did they study my body?
Yep.
No. So I think I'm the expert of my body, not you. And I question people, all right? And I encourage people to question your medical professionals. They
yeah.
don't know everything.
They don't. Yeah.
They don't. And you're going to put your 100% trust in this person. Why?
Yeah.
Because they read books and passed exams?
Yeah.
That's not enough for me.
That's true though. I mean, when it comes to your health, a credential can't be just the only thing that you base off of. Be like, yeah, they have the credential, and we should trust them. We should always question, as you said, always question.
Yeah.
Don't just take their word, and that's that.
Yeah.
And there's a amount of times I have seen stories where doctors have, because what people don't realize in a human dynamic, we all have, bad days, and not bad days, but like we have moments of time where our judgments are lapsed due to a certain situation. That goes for a doctor. Hey, I took you in, not feeling the best at the time. Advice wasn't the same. Guess what?
Yeah.
Months go by. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
It comes from that last judgment from a person because it's normal. It's human nature. We can't avoid that.
Yeah.
So we, as you said, we have to ask questions. We gotta be more foregoing. Be like, okay, there's more to it. I get what you're saying. You're telling me what's written in the textbook. You're replying it back to me. But this is how I feel. So.
Yeah, I also talk a lot about like taking ownership, Right? I mean, my recovery didn't really start until I took ownership of it. And it was my therapist who said, why are you putting your recovery in other people's hands? It's not up to them. It's up to you. Right? And so until you actually take ownership of whatever it is you're going through, it doesn't have to be a disability, whatever it is that's happening in your life, you have to take ownership of it. Right? When you take ownership, you build your integrity. And sometimes it's very humiliating. And it's really hard to take ownership of shit when it's not in a very positive light, right? But that's what builds your character. That's what builds your strength. And then when people say, I don't know if I could do that, it's like, yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
We all have courage and like bravery in us. We all do. It's just bringing it out when you need it to like do the thing you want to do.
And it was like, and you know, going back to that, because I battle this a lot with people when they use excuses for a long period of time. I get it. If you're going through a traumatic experience, seek help. You know, there's a period, I truly do feel like there's a period of frame time where you go through a process, and if that reoccurs where you just having to feel bad, of seeking sympathy for a longer period of time, I don't empathize with people anymore at a certain point. But like, hey, there's people around you that are willing to help you, that are willing to understand what your story is. But if you're not willing to forego that cost of taking ownership and understanding, but like, okay, let me look back at my last month, last year. What did I do to improve my situation? You know, what have I done? But guess what? When you bring these conversations forward, oh, you don't know what I've been through. That's what I'm asking you. You have to better yourself because there's no other way around it. We get this lifetime. We get this one life. My life, yours life, Mukh's life. We don't get another shot at this. We don't. This is the only time in life you own this moment. This moment on your time is you own it. You're improving with the ReYu with the clinic, with your TV show. You're owning this moment and using it to the full enjoyment and helping other people and taking initiative. That's all it is. But as you know, because we have such a negative, and I want to say like a weak mentality these days, we're not able to have these conversations. When we do bring this conversation, they're like, you don't know, like, why are you judging me, this, that? But like, I'm not judging. We're saying no matter whose life it is, everybody goes through stuff. Stop throwing yourself a pity party. At some point of life, you got to realize, take accountability. You know, and we don't want to take that because why? Because social media these days is so negative. Negative things are glorified because that's what brings the joy out of people. Seeing other people hurt brings them joy somehow. It's a weird thing for me, but it brings them joy. Positive things, for example, like, you know, glorifying, oh, this is normal, this or ReYu programs, these will never pop up on mainstream media because it doesn't bring them audience. It doesn't bring them that buzz to collect. You know, that's the one thing I want to get rid of. You know, that's the main reason why we wanted to start all this, because I want to bring different people from in our culture, and obviously, you know, as we progress to all lives of culture, whether, as you said, the stuff that we face in a culture, a lot of other cultures go through the exact same thing because it's similar to us. Right? So that's the one thing I do just feel like I struggle with when I talk to people. It's like it's so hard. I'm not trying to judge, but it's like, at what point do you just stop throwing that pity party? At what point? You know?
You just gotta, so people who are stuck in the victim mentality, victim role, right? It's always blaming somebody else. It's always somebody else's fault that this happened to them. I hear it a lot from a lot of people, simply because people don't want to take ownership, right? And so for me, I'm just like, I'll listen to your complaints for a little while. But if I don't see you taking any action, I'm not going to listen to your complaints anymore. And I'm going to tell you, I'm done listening to them, right? Simply because I myself have done all of this work. I'm doing it still. So if I can do it, you can do it too. And it might have a different effect when it comes from me because people see me, right? But like, I don't take any bullshit anymore. These are all excuses. They're all excuses. All of us living in Canada, I mean, of course, this is a big generalization, right? Not all. The majority of people living here have privilege.
We do.
We have lots of privilege. And there's so much privilege that we cause our own problems.
Smallest thing,
right?
Every day. Like, oh, I don't know, like I woke up wrong. I can't buy this, or I can't do this.
I mean, even just a simple of notion like having back pain. All right, so somebody has back pain. And this is something, a conversation I have a lot. People will call me and be like, hey, I have like, my back really hurts. I'm able-bodied, whatever. Can you guys help me? Yeah, for sure. What are you doing for your core right now? Oh, absolutely nothing. What are you talking about? I don't have time for crunches.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, did you know that our body works with opposing muscles, and by you supporting your core, and that just means even just engaging it right now while you're talking to me is supporting your back muscles. So if you're going to come to me, I'm going to charge you $80 to tell you to do planks. Oh, you can come. I'll do it.
Come.
I'll make money. No problem. I'm going to make you do planks. Right? And like, you have to take ownership of it. You can't go asking somebody else to help you and to fix all your problems. So to these people, I give them a little time, right? And so also for myself, if I have a pity party, which I'm allowed to have, right? There's rules. I set a timer for 2 hours. It's no longer than 2 hours, okay? In that 2 hours, I can cry, kick, scream, eat chocolate, eat ice cream, punch things, whatever I want to do for those 2 hours. As soon as that alarm goes off, wipe your tears away, wash your face, and get back to life. Because at the end of the day, this is here, right? My disability is here. I wish it would go away. I wish I had that magic wand, but I don't. So am I going to stop it from letting me live my life? No, you were right. We get one shot at life. This is one meat sack we get, right? So if we don't take care of this, like, what's going to happen? Right? And if you're not living right now, if you are just existing day to day, then what kind of life are you having? Right? Before you know it, you're going to be 80 years old, and then what? Time flies, man. It flies. And so if we are not being intentional and mindful and aware of what we're spending our energy on and what we're doing, you're in a rat race.
You really are.
Right? And you're not living anymore. Now you're just existing. And now you're just going to be jealous and envious of the people who are.
That's true.
And then you get trapped in that negative cycle. Right? So for myself, I unfollowed all mainstream media. I had to unfollow everything. Anybody that triggers me in any way, I either like mute or unfollow. Right? Because if they're like a friend or a client or something, I don't want to unfollow them. So I just mute their posts, right?
No, it's fair.
You do you. I'll support you kind of, but I don't want to see it. Right? And that helps me with my mental health. Because I have to stay positive for the people who need me to be positive. And one of the best ways of doing that is being in control of what I'm consuming through my eyes and my ears. Right? I still love true crime. I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. Right? But then also like angel ones and also like personal development to like balance it out. Right?
No, it's true. That's key. I mean, I mean, you built that mental fortitude to get you to this point that you are today, And one thing I want to touch on is just like your, some of the achievements. What are like some of your proudest moments that you look back, be like, wow, like we came a long way, like individually and even professionally. Because, sometimes you do take a seat back, but like, man, like what am I really like proud of myself for doing this? Because I think we do need to have that talk with ourselves sometimes, be like, man, I really did that. And there's nothing wrong with it.
We don't praise ourselves very often.
We don't.
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest achievements was like presenting an award at the Junos. I presented Album of the Year. This past March. And like was hanging out with AP Dylan. Backstage. And I guess I'm like texting my cousins. I was like, AP Dylan's here, but I don't know which one he is. There's a bunch of brown guys. My cousin's wife sends me pictures. I was like, okay.
He started singing. I know who he is.
That was a very wild experience. And even when I was on stage, like waiting to go live in my head, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? How the hell am I here? Right? Like you just don't think, like a brown girl from Millwoods, right? Like grew up to be on this stage in front of this many people. Like people behind me were chanting my name. I was like, it was wild. I'm getting goosebumps right now.
I know. I was going to say, I'm getting goosebumps.
And I'm backstage with all these like big name celebrities, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Somebody's going to find out. Right? So I was like, oh my God. So I took the opportunity. I introduced myself to all of those celebrities because I'm like, what the hell? Whatever chance am I going to get, right? That's been one. That was a huge one. Obviously the TV show, right? Like, man, to get your own TV show is huge.
That's crazy. More than huge.
And it's been wild. It's been really fun. It's been very eye-opening. Yeah, and I just hope it continues forever because I just don't want it to stop. I love it so
CBC
much.
has to. Where's there's a broadcast usually?
CBC.
CBC?
The CBC and CBC Gem.
Don't worry, we'll tag them.
Yeah.
We'll have a whole army attack them. If it's not renewed, we're on your ass. It needs to be renewed for season 3. So.
Yeah, man. And then, I mean, you know, some of the awards, like Top 40 was always on my bucket list. Same with Global Woman of Vision. I grew up watching Leslie McDonald on Global TV representing the Global Woman of Vision Award. And I just was one day, as a kid, I remember being like, I want that. I had no idea how I was going to get it. I had no idea I'd have to get paralyzed in order to achieve all this stuff, right? But like, yeah, it's very surreal. Yeah. It's very, very surreal. Yeah.
Crazy journey, huh?
Yeah, man.
Looking back at it, like you went, as you said, you went through a stage where like perfectly fine one day. Life turned upside down.
Yeah.
Went through a stage where like, as you said, that mentality like, man, like, why me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's a rightful response to have when you go through that. Because when stuff does go sideways, you're like, why me? Like, and you know, one thing I do want to talk about, how did you take that? Like, a lot of people, you know, I know a lot of people in my life, they've been through a lot of like, you know, great traumatic experiences, you know, and they tend to blame like, man, like, why me? Like, God, like, why me? Yeah. And then they blame, like, you know, sometimes they resent God. I have seen that in a lot of people. There was, right? See, there you go. Yeah. Like, you know, and how do you cope with that? Like, it's just like, how do you even go through that process of just like, as you said, therapy was one of the things that got you through it.
Yeah, therapy's helped a lot, and I really dug deep into like the spiritual side. So I saw a few mediums. I've done a few like shamanic journeys, just to really get down to the like, why did this actually happen?
Yeah.
And in one of my shamanic journeys, the girl who like took me on this journey, it's in a meditative state, right? And she drums to like your heartbeat. So it's like, it's really cool. But she said, like, my guardian angel came. My guardian angel was with her, and his name's Michael, and he's huge. And he told her that they paralyzed me on purpose because I was going down the wrong path. And so my BG, my dad's mom, her and I look alike, okay? And she was not a very nice person, okay? She did black magic. She did a lot of terrible things to people. So when she was 30 years old, she did something that set her on the path that she was on. I was 30 years old and going down a very bad path. And had I not been paralyzed, I would have overdosed and died that year, for sure.
Wow.
For sure.
That's crazy.
And so, yeah. And then when she was telling me this after, like, I just couldn't stop crying because I was just like, man, like, really, you had to paralyze me?
You could have been something else.
Could have been something lighter or whatever. But like, they did it on purpose because I was meant for more. And I was wasting my life. And it's hard for me to like talk about this, right?
Oh, take your time. Like,
but like,
turn me up. Like, just listen to the story because it's so powerful.
It is.
Like, you know.
Yeah, man. It's like, and then there's that notion of like, before we become souls on earth, we choose our adversity. We choose the things we go through in life because we have lessons that still need to be learned. Yeah. So I chose this.
Yeah.
And so then I'm kind of like a little bit mad at myself. Right?
Why'd you choose this?
Yeah, why this? Like, at least let me piss normally. God. Right? You know, like, come on. But at the end of it, like, I know why. Yeah. Because it had to be something this drastic. Otherwise, I wouldn't have learned these lessons. You know? And then, like, you think of, like, the spiritual side of, like, who you are and on the spirit realm, right? And, like, by talking to mediums, I've been told, like, I'm a big presence in the spirit realm. Yeah. And, like, you know, I've talked to my ancestors a lot. I talk to them a lot because one of the mediums told me, they're with you. Thousands of them are literally right beside you. And I can always feel my papaji and my bebe, always. Always. It's wild. And so, like, you know, she told me, she's like, talk to them like as if you're talking to your grandparents. So every day I have a ritual where I turn my rock lamp on and I say, hey ancestors, thanks so much for loving me, guiding me, protecting me. Thank you for bringing our family together. Thank you for protecting our family. Today I had an appointment at the Cross Cancer Institute, not cancer, but just that's where my appointment was. And it was just like weird, right? It's a weird building, like weird energies. And I'm very like, I feel things a lot. And when I went in there, I just felt like heavy. And so I went back outside and I was like, ancestors, I'm gonna need you right now. Right? Come with me, please. Along, come protect me and to protect my energy as we go in here. And as I went in, I felt warm. So it's
that's
just
crazy
like,
though. Like a lot of people won't even understand what that means. They're like, no, the person's talking about some crazy talk.
But what's crazy?
But that's what I'm saying. What is crazy? Like being spiritually in tone with what's like spiritually, that journey. People don't understand really what that means and truly be taking that journey by yourself. What does that mean? It can be taken in different shape or forms, but 9 out of 10 times people don't even choose to get in tune with that spiritual journey of theirs. And I think people lose out on, as you said, the true potential when they lose out on that.
Yeah, because it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. This is not an easy thing to go through. And then for somebody to hear somebody say, like, they paralyzed you on purpose, it was really hard for me to, like, really understand that and process it, right? And you have to be open to it. You can't go into these kinds of situations closed, right? It's like seeing a psychic or a medium or whatever. If you go in there being like, this is a fake, you're a fraud, whatever, then you're not going to get anything out of it, right? But I believe in more. And after my paralysis, I had a tumultuous relationship with God for a very long time, still do to this day, right? And like, I prefer to say the universe because I have a hard time with God, right? And like, there was just a lot of, my upbringing had a lot to do with that. And then after being paralyzed, I was just like, why not take it? Why not take all of me? What are you doing leaving here with half a body? And then like, there was a period of, well, all I did was bought because I was so scared. Right? And then that then I turned into anger. And anyways, had to go through this whole
the whole process to get you to
I'm breaking that down.
Powerful journey to say the least. It
straight up, man. this life is no joke.
So one thing we do want to focus on is the community support. I think you a little bit what I want to focus on is like, how can like our communities become like more inclusive for individuals with disability, and like what are some things that some coverages that can be implemented for in healthcare or whatever it may be. What are some things that need to be changed or that are even come in the works?
Okay, I think as a community, what we can do to create more inclusion is to promote it, right? So we're having a Nurgagirtan. Where's the accessibility in that? Are there accessible porta potties along the route? Is there going to be space for people with wheelchairs? Is this taken into consideration where sidewalks and roads go? Right? That, right? And then when announcing it, saying, this is accessibility friendly or something like that, saying that, hey, we've thought about this. You're welcome here.
Welcome here,
Right? Because when there's nothing, then you're just like, I don't know, like, should I go? Should I not go? Is there going to be a bathroom? Is there going to be this? Right? So like, I think just that of like, if we want to have even a party or I don't know, whatever you're having, making sure that you've taken that into consideration and then put that on your marketing materials, right? So that people know, so that if a family is looking to come to this family event and they see, oh, what? Wait a minute, I can actually bring my kid, right? Because people will just assume it's not going to be accessible, right? Especially with apnea.
Especially
Okay, so these are, and that's the thing. It's like, as we spoke about, like there's a lot of things we as individuals can do on a day-to-day basis that can make a big difference.
For sure.
And small things like that, like not parking in a handicapped like place where it says those. Doing small thing, not blocking, as you said, the snow shovel thing. Not blocking accessible with curve cuts where there's snow. So small people gotta understand like those things are made for everything. They're not just made. We're like, oh, they just decided to make a little ramp connecting to the road. We're like, oh. But people don't know. It's like they have to acknowledge that. Don't just push it on into the area of the snow. We're like, oh, we'll just push it on here because there's space. Why was there space made there? Educate yourself more.
And just be open to it. I think that's, that's the biggest thing is people are so closed and they're scared of things that are different than them. But if we find more people with disabilities, we need to bring them out.
Yeah.
We need that, right?
To give them their flowers. Be like, hey, listen, you're heard.
Yes.
We acknowledge you.
Yeah.
You're not just a person that can be just, oh, man, you don't matter. Everybody matters.
Yes.
At the end of the day, no matter who it is, everybody matters.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And then, we're kind of going back to the business part again. But like, curious to know if you have any upcoming projects for the business, like if there's any other sort of treatments that you're possibly working on.
Second clinic, maybe something.
Yeah, second clinic expanding or something.
Not planning on expanding. Our goal is to have our freestanding state-of-the-art facility.
Okay.
Hopefully within the next 10 years.
Okay.
So that's our big goal.
Yeah.
And that'll have everything, aqua therapy, underground parking, heated underground parking. That's not negotiable. What's happening? Heated concrete outside. That's happening too. And then on the same property, I would like to have a community of accessible townhomes to address the issue of accessible housing, because that's a huge issue in our community here. So that's kind of our big goals. Right now, like, we're always doing a lot of R&D, research and development, into what kind of therapies are out there around the world. Like right now, we offer about, I think, 10 different types of therapies that like other organizations have created. So like NASA created the astronaut training, which is for the vestibular system, so inner ears. And so when the astronauts come back from space, their vestibular system is messed up, right? Because there's no gravity. And so while it is a padded table on a lazy Susan, and you lie on your side, your head in a certain position, and you spin. You spin at a certain speed, listening to certain music, with your eyes on a light, and there's different movements that you do that can retrain your vestibular system. So somebody along the way was like, let's try this with kids who have vestibular issues. And lo and behold, it works.
Wow.
So it's a weekend course that a lot of our trainers have taken, and now like we offer astronaut training. And then there's a lot of other therapies like that are around the world that people are doing, and because we're a private clinic, we're able to provide them. Yes. So we're having Zebrafish Neuro, which is a Pilates-based neuro rehab company. We're hosting them in March. They're coming to do a course. So we're always looking for new and exciting things. What's out there? What are people doing? Because technology is changing every second. I mean, in the neuro recovery world, that's happening too, right? And like with things like Neuralink and the epidural stimulators and stem cells and then activity-based therapy, like these are the ingredients to the cure for paralysis. Like we'll get there in our lifetime for sure. It's coming. Right. And so our thought process is, well, let's get you strong enough now. Let's get that connection to your mind and your body and get your muscles working so that when that does come, because trust me, I'm signing up for it. Right. Your body needs to be able to work, and you need to have muscles and the cardiac capacity and your respiratory capacity in order to walk and move and do all these things. Right.
I mean, one thing I do want to say is, like, as I said, what's the one message you want to give to people? Because you've been through, all types of emotions. You've been through the ups, and you've literally been through everything that you could, think of, whether a person is disabled or not. What's the one message you want to give to people, whether they're on their, career path of becoming successful, we want to pursue entrepreneurship, or they're stuck in that little bubble where they got then taking the next step. When how that switch gets turned on in your head. What would you suggest to those people? Be like, how do you go about taking that step? Like, what would you say one of the underlying factor in your life that just kind of flipped the switch? Be like, hey, this is it.
In one word, himmat. Courage. Do it. Right? Like, if you're a perfectionist like I was, right? You want everything to be perfect. So you're not going to do it because it's not perfect. Right? And so what I had to learn is the 80-20 rule. If it's 80% done, send it. Doesn't have to be 100%. Right? And so with ReYu, I was scared shitless, man. Right? Like, I was like, first of all, I'm an X-ray tech and a makeup artist. I've never run a business. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Right? Major imposter syndrome. And and if it wasn't for Nancy pushing me, she was like, we're doing this. And she's the one who's constantly like, no, we're going to do it. And I'm scared. Like, I don't know about this. But like, you just do it. And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You fail. Okay. And like you said before, you fail, you learn from it, and you keep going.
Keep going.
Right? And so I think it's just having that courage to just do it. Right? Like put your insecurity aside, take a big breath, pull your gachi up, and do it.
Good. No, straight up. It's true.
Right?
No, and like as you said, like, and you're not only a woman of color, coming from a culture that has so much stigma, and with a disability, I feel like you, as a person, should be looked at as like an inspiration for everybody. I don't care. You're a woman, man, kid. I don't care who you are. If you can't seek inspiration by what you have done, I really encourage people to dig deep of what your real purpose in life is. If you don't seek that inspiration through what your journey is, man, you'll never find anything that's, speaks volume to you. I mean that wholeheartedly. And, and thank you for everything you're doing for people with disability and the conversation you're sparking up, and even opening up the clinic in Edmonton, the first ever. So more power to you. Thank you for everything you're doing for our community as well. It's huge. And we need more of people like you to step up.
Thank you.
And just go for it. Really, just go for it.
I just feel like being in service to others, right? Seva. And like, so I have a tumultuous relationship with our culture and our religion, right? And my brother's friend, a couple of years ago, he said to me, because he added me into this group chat where it was a lot of Sikhi talk, right? And I said in that group chat, I was like, hey guys, I'm really sorry. I don't think this is the group chat for me, right? I don't feel like I'm going to be a positive member of this thing. And so I like ducked out, right? I'm like, I'm going to leave. And I left the group chat. And a little while later, a couple months later, he messaged me and he's like, Bean, you said that you don't really, belong in this group and you don't do all these things. He's like, but I haven't met anybody who's practices Sikhi more than you. And I never thought of it that way until he said it. And he's like, you do more seva than anybody. And I was just like, oh my God, I do. I just say I'm in service to others, right? But that means seva. So be in service to others. Try to help as many people as you can. It's going to come back at you. If you're in this life to make money, you'll never make it. You'll never have enough. Because before I was paralyzed, that was my top priority, is make money. And I was making 6 figures, easy peasy, living the best life. And then paralyzed. And then my income got cut to $13,000 a year.
Wow.
And then it makes you really prioritize what's important. And now fun is at the top of my list. If I'm not having fun, what am I doing here? Right? The money will always come. It will always come and it will always go. That's the important thing to remember too, right? And like also just like changing your perspective on it and changing your thought process on wealth and what money is. Like I deserve wealth. I am going to be wealthy. I will have my own private plane. But what I think about is like, look how many people I've helped with nothing. How many people can I help with millions and billions?
No, that's true.
That's true.
Right? Plus me flossing.
And you have your private jet. So, thank you.
Man, anytime. I'm proud of you guys for taking this and doing this podcast. Good for you. You guys should be proud of yourselves. These kind of conversations need to happen. And I'm proud of you for stepping out of the norm and like facing the backlash that's coming. Right?
You love it. Bring it on.
That's what Mukh feeds off of. He's like, let me see, who did I upset
Bring
today?
it on.
Whatever motivates you, man.
It's my coffee.
No, for real. Cool. Thanks for having me, though. I really appreciate it.
Definitely, for sure. I guess before ending this off, if there's anything that you want to a message that you want to give out to the youngsters, or whether if you want to pursue business or if they're facing something with, something tragic, just a message to them if you want to provide any.
Yeah, don't let limiting beliefs hold you back. Yeah. Don't let anybody else's limiting beliefs and don't let your own limiting beliefs hold you back. Recognize what's a limiting belief and get rid of it. Use positive affirmations, put them in front of your face. They really do work. There's been many studies done on this. Use positive affirmations, and more than anything, be grateful for what you have. If you have a working body, go move it. Go run a set of stairs and then do a second set for me. Okay? But just take advantage of it, right? Appreciate your eyes, appreciate your nose, appreciate your hearing. We don't get it. It might be gone tomorrow. So appreciate it, because like I said, tomorrow's not guaranteed, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, and then if are we like in the general view, are we able to help out any way with the cause that you guys have going on, even with
Yes.
is there anything that we can do to help support or even like get more engagement? How can we
For sure, yeah. So obviously we're a nonprofit, so we're always taking donations.
Okay.
Our website is reyu.ca, REYU.ca. We're also always looking for volunteers. We have quite a few Apne volunteers who come to ReYu every week.
Okay.
And I love it because it's really opened their eyes to what people with disabilities, who they are and what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And so it's very hands-on too, and it's a gym. So you're going to be like working out with people with disabilities. So if you want to volunteer, that's also on our website, reyu.ca. And then we have a bunch of events coming up too. We have our 5-kilometer walk, run, and roll in June. And this November, we're having our Rise of the Phoenix Gala. It's on November 2nd.
Okay.
And so, it'll be really fun.
Okay, exciting.
You can buy a table.
Hey, I'll definitely be there.
Awesome.
Well, on that note, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
It was insightful comments, insightful conversations. So, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate y'all.
Peace.